how you're being informed how the rules are changing. In addition to that, the referees have ways of contacting weekly and monthly the game design committee. And we're constantly getting updated. There won't be clarification or rule changes that we see, but there'll be nuances of how the rules should be applied. And that's normally the questions that the referee comes up with. Sometimes the referee form gets way ahead of the game form and realizes that there's a problem in upcoming rules that the robots really aren't playing with at that point. At which point, first has a way of inserting a question into your game form to make a rule change. Hence, the referees have to stay up to date with the evolving rules. How we do that? In Alamo, we go through a fairly rigorous training session versus other people, other referees in other regions. There's two different tracks we take. One is training sessions where we get on an FTC field, and the head referee takes the new referees through the entire game, from the time they're being called over to queuing to the time the robots retrieve. We're going through all the procedures, all the rules, and all the scoring cards. That session normally takes an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, and it really depends on what part of the season that new referee is coming in on. The farther into the season, the more rules that we have, the more finesse that we have over the rules. The other way we train is through scrimmages. This is mostly through experienced referees that go into a scrimmage. They allow the referees to learn where to look, when to look, and the rhythm of the game. Any scrimmage starts the same way as any event does. It starts with a referee meeting, where the head referee is taking the referees all the way through the game again, from beginning to end, and through the scoring sheets. There's lots of questions and answers, and the experienced referees normally know at the beginning of the scrimmage what they're looking for and what the rules are. But the head referee is always there and going around training at the same time. After those two events, either one of those two events occur for a referee, they go through the FTC certification test. So all the referees that you'll see in front of you have been certified by FIRST as to knowing the rules. A new referee at the first event, after this training, after their test, are not just put on the field by themselves. They're always standing next to an experienced referee. They stand there until that they feel comfortable with the game, where to look, when to look, why to look at those areas. They then step forward, the experienced referee steps back. They're still working together. They're working there the entire time until the head referee, the referees on the field, and that new referee are comfortable that they can stand alone. Every week before, this season will essentially be every week. Alamo sends out an email to all the referees summarizing any rule changes and any updates and nuances of how the rules are to be implemented. They all have access to these, but a lot of people just don't have the time, can't make the time that week. They might be traveling or something. So the emails just point out the real true rule changes and nuance changes that they have to worry about. The referee Q&As are pretty similar to the game Q&As. There's a lot of repetitiveness. And so we can just move through that for most of the referees. Before any event, there's a referee meeting where the head referee, again, is going through the entire game with the referee. The Q&As come in, any new rule changes come in. The referee will not start the event until he's comfortable with the referees and the referees are comfortable knowing their job. So at an event, the head referee is the final interpreter of the rules at the event. Their decision cannot be overturned by any other volunteer. If you try to go and appeal to another volunteer, let's say the event director, you're actually violating the rules. That's something you do not want to do. You're just creating more problems for yourself. A head referee, So at an event, the referees direct most of the match procedures. The one that they're not going to be directing this year is the wiggle test. So a wiggle test is just to prove out the communications between the driver control station and the robot. It happens before autonomous, and it happens before driver control. And that's when the FTA steps in and will ask the teams to move their robot. All the other commands, essentially, you'll hear from at the event will be through the referee. Referees are going to warn you anytime that they can before you make a penalty. If it's possible to do that, we'll call it out. If you do that, you're going to get a penalty. Now, there's some penalties that just become instantaneous and we can't control them. Block control last year was a big problem. If somebody suddenly turned, they might all of a sudden be controlling 7 blocks. That's an instantaneous penalty. We didn't know which way they were going to turn. But when we can, we'll point out penalties that you're about to occur. A referee can only call what they see. Now, it's perfectly appropriate for a team to call out and say, I think that team's creating a penalty, or that robot is causing a penalty. You can say, I think they're blocking me, I think that they're below the ramp when they're trying to score. It's not like you're informing on the other team. You're providing the referee with some information. And that's the way you should look at it. The referee can often say, I'm looking at something else right now, I see it, I understand. They're not going to tell you any much more information than that because they're watching the game. They're collecting this information. They might have already seen that it was a penalty. They might have already decided that's not a penalty. One of the biggest penalties that we constantly hear, especially late in the season, is blocking. Blocking is only a case when you can't get to a region any way possible because another robot is always in your way. As the season progresses, the Alamo referees will give you less information about your match every time. So the first meet you'll probably have, we'll probably talk about what penalties you incurred, what your scoring was. First doesn't really like us doing this. They think it's slow.